Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We're delighted to welcome our three schools that we work with, two in New Hampshire and one in Florida. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started. Anyone that submitted questions for this, thank you so much. We're going to try and get through as many questions as possible whilst keeping the session to 45 minutes to 1 hour. So we want to keep things reasonably short. So I'll try and get through as many of your questions as possible. But if you have any new questions, any questions that haven't been asked during the session, please head over to the chat box and just type the message in the chat box, and we'll either answer that at the end of today's session, or if we run out of time, I'll make sure those questions get answered for you by email. Couple of other things, please keep yourselves muted during this call, just to allow everyone to hear properly. The call is being recorded. The way we're going to work today is we're going to work through 5 sections. The first section is going to be talking about all things coronavirus and how the schools are handling coronavirus. The second section is going to be talking about international student demographics. The third section is going to be on support from the school and what support you can expect the schools to provide your students. The fourth is course offerings, and the fifth is miscellaneous. So that's going to be everything else, and if time, the questions in the chat box. Before I introduce our members of the school, I'll introduce myself for those that don't know me yet. My name is Tom White, and I'm the Director of International Programs at Study 6. We work with Melbourne Central Catholic High School in Florida, Bishop Guertin High School in New Hampshire, and St. Thomas Aquinas High School in New Hampshire. But let's get started straight away with who you really want to meet, which is why you're all here, to speak to the schools. Hopefully this won't be the first and last time that you speak directly to the schools. Hopefully we can kind of build up a little bit of a series, maybe bring some students on as well to get things from their point of view. First of all, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Daniel Richer. He's from St. Thomas Aquinas. And we also have Miss Anne Cash over in Melbourne Central Catholic down in Florida. And finally, she'll be here in a few minutes, but somebody I work with closely here in New Hampshire is Brenda Posnansky at Bishop Guertin High School. Let's get started straight away with our first section on all things coronavirus. And we'll go to Danny Richer first, if possible. So let's get started with how has your school, St. Thomas Aquinas, been dealing with COVID?
Absolutely. It's a great question. And I think it's probably the most common question we get asked out of all the things that people are curious about. They want to know about how things are going. And I'm very happy to share that we've had a very good year so far. We have been in person 5 days a week. We started late August, and it's, I think, been a very successful year for us. We worked very hard from last spring through the summer to prepare for reopening in-person education. And we had, I think, a very detailed, very deliberate, very intentional plan. We did adjust the school day to from 7 class periods to 4 longer class periods, which of course reduced the frequency of class changes, less time in the hallways, We do have directional hallways, which again keeps the flow of traffic moving at a good pace. Hand sanitizers and cleanliness has been a top priority, and of course, everybody is wearing masks all day. I don't have my mask on right now because I'm alone in my office, but that is certainly a very important protocol that we have. So we've, I think, had a very successful year so far that has allowed us to remain open 5 days.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for that. And I've been over to St. Thomas many times this year, and aside from the masks and the social distancing, it's been great to see how smoothly things have been operating over there. Likewise, last week I was down in Florida and had the pleasure of speaking with Anne Cash, and if we can head over there now and ask you the same questions. I'm also copying and pasting the questions for this section into the chat box, just so that people can reference them as well. Oh, sorry. Okay, can you go ahead?
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm glad to meet everyone. Thank you for having us, Tom. I did want to start out by saying, yes, we started the year with the goal of hopefully having the majority of our students return, and we offered in-person and remote learning as well. We did open the school year with that hybrid model, and we have continued that hybrid model throughout this entire time. It's averaged around 20% of our students, 20 to 22% have remained distance learners all year. So that's been pretty consistent. What's happened is we've had, being in Florida, our students and our social environment allows us to get outside and play sports. We have started sports since the beginning of the school year. So one of the things that we have noticed as a change in our distance learning is that it has actually become a choice for some students, because what happens if a student has tested positive or is in the same classroom or vicinity of a student that tests positive is we require them to quarantine for 20 days. That has posed some issues, because once you're quarantined, you cannot do anything school related other than your studies via Zoom. So some of our students on the teams, our athletes, have chosen to go to distance learning during the season of the sport that they play in, because what we've seen is several teams would be completely quarantined, thus missing games and having to forfeit games or things like that. So we have seen the choice to go distance rather than the necessity, which has posed some issues, but I think overall it's been very well organized, very well controlled. We have a rule that the students must stay quarantined for 20 days if they choose to quarantine, or if they're quarantined by order. If a student wants to return to in-person learning, they must give us 24 hours notice. And that's because it's a courtesy to the teachers, to the attendance person, to their guidance counselors, and also a physical setting. We need to prepare for that student to be in the classroom. We need to make sure that they're distanced, and we've had seating charts that have remained the same all year, and there's no fluctuation allowed, because we are making sure if one person tests positive, we are only going to distance learning those people that are around them. Other than that, I mean, I think that it's kind of been a pretty good year for us. We were hoping to have more students go in person. We have had some challenges with distance learning as far as our policy. We've had to revise that. Teenagers are teenagers. They're going to push it. But other than that, we've had a pretty good year.
No, that's awesome. And for anyone that's not been to the campus in Florida, it does lend itself pretty well to social distancing, because the classrooms, most of the classrooms actually open out onto the outdoors. So there's no indoor hallways as such. You walk straight out and you're outside again. So it's been pretty straightforward to have the social distancing measures in place there. We're going to head on over to New Hampshire now, back up to New Hampshire and Bishop Guertin High School. Brenda Posnansky is our Director of School Admissions there, but she's also our Director of Counseling. So Brenda is actually somebody who would be advising the international students on college acceptance, as well as their course selection while they're actually at BG. So welcome, Brenda, and thank you for joining us. And at the moment, we're just on section 1. We're talking about how BG and how our schools in general have been dealing with the impacts of coronavirus. So if you wanted to introduce yourself and then share a little bit on that.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm so sorry I'm late. The morning did not go as planned. As Tom said, I'm the Director of School Counseling, so sometimes things pop up. My name is Brenda Posnansky. I'm the Director of School Counseling and Admission at Bishop Guertin. So I wear sort of 2 hats. We have about 800 students, as Tom probably shared with you. We have students coming from over 41 different communities because we sit on the New Hampshire-Massachusetts border. So we have a lot of students that come from outside the Boston area right up until to the middle of the state of New Hampshire, the capital area, which is Concord. So we have a wide span of students coming from really different communities. And so it adds to a great mix of kids in our school. So we have a nice diversity of students. They're not all kids who have gone to school together for a really, really long time. So that's always really nice for kids to meet new people, to accept new people. So that's really nice. One of the things that COVID, is that what we're talking about? Oh, geez. It's been, weirdly enough, we started planning for COVID before we broke for Christmas break. Our principal is a science and technology wonk, thankfully, which has served us incredibly well during this horrible time for all. And he really started the ball rolling about what we were going to need to do. And so it feels like it's been well over a year for us as we've been planning. But on March 13th, we closed school. We were up and running as a face-to-face educational institution with our students. That was a Thursday, I think. And then Friday, we did a teacher in service, and we were up and running that Monday. So we are fortunate enough that our students all have their own personal devices, in which we have surveyed over the years to make sure everybody has one. And that is a requirement to come to BG, is to have your own device other than your phone. So we knew that was already in place, and we trained the teachers, and we were up and running with a full schedule on Monday, and we never really stopped. We were fully remote until August, and in August we came back 100%, and then over time, because of numbers, have been back and forth between 100% and 40%, and then fully remote days here and there because of numbers. But for the most part, we've been face to face every day. What we put into place were a lot of different things. Our teachers were well scripted in doing sort of tele education. We have snow days in New Hampshire, and so our snow days have always been, for the last about 10 years, we have done our snow days online. So the students are used to sort of that kind of modality. And then, so they knew how to do Zoom, they knew how to do Google Classrooms and things like that. But over the summer was really when we realized that school was going to be very different in September. And so our building was built in 1962. So we had a lot of work to do as far as making sure that our building was safe for the students. We put in new filtration systems. We have portable filtration systems. We repurposed the building in many ways. Our cafeteria is repurposed, our gym, our field house, all repurposed to keep kids safe and distant, especially around lunch. Lunch was the biggest hurdle for us as to how to figure that out. We did have tents outside. Again, we're in New England, so we were fortunate. We had a nice fall, but that's not always the case. We have had snow in October, so we were a little worried about that. So we were able to use outside as well pretty effectively. We made the hallways all one way. We adjusted our schedule. We have a 6-period day on an 8-day rotating schedule. So the students rotate through and they drop 2 classes a day. One in the beginning half of the numbering and one in the second half of the numbering. And we readjusted that so that our schedule was a little different. The students all sit 6 feet apart. The teachers have a line in the classroom where they're not supposed to go over. That's really, really, really hard for our teachers. But everybody was masked starting from day one. That was a given. Every student had to be masked. So we have PPE all throughout the classrooms, extra masks, hand sanitizers, things like that. We closed all water fountains, as they call them in New Hampshire, bubblers. And we have been really on it. Our lunch program boggles the mind. The students order their lunch the week before, and it's delivered outside the classroom of whatever period they're in. And I don't even know. I don't have any idea how to go.
Oh, you're breaking up a little bit there, Brenda. But yeah, I think
going hungry. So
yeah, I think it's been great, especially for me to see exactly how each school has been handling the pandemic and the adaptations that they've had to make. And obviously, it's been different school to school because each school has a different layout and different student numbers, and we're going to get onto that in the next section. So again, I've pasted over in the chat box the questions that are going to come up for section 2 about international student demographics. Before I touch on them, I did notice a quick question from Boya over in Spain. He asked if international students quarantine with their host families upon arrival. At all schools, the answer for that is yes, they do. As with all arrivals in the US right now, students are required to take a negative COVID test within 72 hours before their flight. We also encourage them to take another test when they arrive in the US, should they wish, or quarantine for the required period of days, depending upon the state. Obviously, come August, those requirements might change with the rollout of the vaccine and just with the variables that we've all been experiencing throughout the pandemic as well. So stay tuned for that, I guess. But as of now, yes, international students are quarantining with their host families. Moving on to section 2, and we'll head back to Florida with Anne Cash. And yeah, a few questions there. What is the population of your school? How many international students can you comfortably welcome? Are students mostly from one region of the world? And if not, what countries have you worked with in the past?
Sure. So right now, our current enrollment is 436 students. So we average anywhere from about 100 to 120 to 125 right now. Our campus is equipped to take 600 students. We do not push to get there. Obviously, that would be during Corona, absolutely not. But even on a regular year, it's just a crowded environment. We have about 2 years ago, we were at 560, and that was a lot. So right now, this is a good number for us. We can accommodate 25 to 30 international students on our campus. And we've had students from all over Europe, South America, the Philippines, China, Korea. So we have student interest from everywhere, and we would love to have anyone from those countries and join us. But one thing I wanted to tell you, when you go back to, you said the virus and the vaccine rolling out. Actually, 2 days ago, the University of Central Florida, which is an hour away from us in Orlando, just announced that they will be 100% in-person learning in the fall for their college students. So that, we feel, is going to have a large effect on us. We are under the direction of the Diocese of Orlando, so we kind of have to go with them and what their guidelines are. We can't just go rogue and say we're going to have everyone come back or we're going to stay distant. So that is one thing that we are watching. But I have a feeling, being in Florida and being near the universities, and they're rolling out like that, we're probably going to follow the same path. Fingers crossed.
Awesome. And the same questions over in back up in New Hampshire for Dan Richer up in Dover.
Yeah, absolutely. Our total enrollment for grades 9, 10, 11, and 12 is 400 students. We would have the opportunity to grow a little bit, perhaps up to 450 students total. But much like my colleague Ann mentioned, we would not necessarily want to be much larger than that, given the size of our physical campus and our facilities. Our international student population right now is relatively small, although in years past, we've had as many as 40 international students studying with us. And also, like Ann mentioned, they do come from around the globe. We currently have students that are coming to us from Germany, from Vietnam, and from Korea. And in years past, we've welcomed students from Latin America, different countries in Europe. And I think overall, we could probably comfortably enroll students from a total international population of probably about 30, 35.
Yeah, I think the sweet spot, it seems, is around 7 to 10% of the school population for international students. And one of the things that, one of the main factors actually, because the schools will take care of themselves in the quality of education that they offer, regardless of how many students they bring. But one of the main points is being able to house all the students in good quality host families. So we don't want to bring students over if we can't offer that. We only want to bring students if we can guarantee them a good time in both of those areas. Brenda Posnansky in, oops, sorry, I just muted you, Brenda, I believe. Brenda in Bishop Guertin, New Hampshire, the same questions for you, please. Oh, sorry, let me ask you to unmute. There you go.
Yeah, I'm having connectivity issues here. I'm not sure what's going on, but so we have, like I mentioned before, just under 800 students at Bishop Guertin. We are not part of the diocese. We are an independent school owned by the Brothers of the Sacred Heart. We are just a little bit different than a diocesan school in that we don't have to wait for the diocese to decide how we're going to roll out what we're going to do. We're fortunate in that way, or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it. But we have had up to 40 international students from all the same places that Dan and Ann have said. We have loved every minute of having international students in our building. We think it just makes our school more enriched. We are welcoming students now. We have a smaller population than ever than we've had in the last 8 years since we started, for understandably. But we have right now we have a student in remarkable how well they've done and kept up. And so, yeah, so we are very happy to have about 40 to 50 international students.
You just dropped off a little bit there, Brenda, but I think that what you were, the point that you were making that kind of dropped off was we have a couple of students studying from overseas right now. We have, I think, one in China and one or two in Vietnam. And Brenda was saying it's been remarkable how they've been managed to keep up and still feel a part of the school community as well. Ideally, obviously, we'll have everyone back on campus for the fall, but let's see how the situation develops over the remainder of the year. Moving on to section 3, support from the school. How are international students looked after by the school? Are there some orientation days when they arrive? Is tutoring available? If so, what are the options? Are ESL classes offered now, or will they be in the future? What kind of trips can international students take? If the school isn't currently offering trips, obviously, what is there to do in the area? If we can head back to Dover, New Hampshire, to Danny Richer for that, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we do our best to support international students very, very well here at St. Thomas Aquinas High School. For students that are coming here, we do work with Tom for some of the logistics and help finding assistance with housing. Once they're here on campus, we definitely kick things off with a 2-day orientation that is for all of our new students, whether they're domestic students or international students. There is a 2-day orientation to get them acclimated to the campus and get them acclimated to life here at St. Thomas Aquinas High School. In years past, we have offered ESL classes. We are currently not offering them, but that's something that we could revisit if the numbers warrant offering more ESL classes. We've done that in the past, so there is precedence for that. Tutoring, however, is always going to be available. There's no doubt about it that all of our students, domestic and international, will be eligible for to take advantage of our tutoring services on campus. And in terms of international trips, this year is a little bit different because of COVID, but we absolutely have international travel opportunities for our students. Those typically occur in the month of January. We offer something called winter term, which is typically that 3rd week in January, around the 20th, 22nd. We have students that will take advantage of 45 to 50 different opportunities to study, to get immersed in something that they're excited about. And many of these experiences will involve domestic or international travel. Last January, we had a group of about 12 students go to the Galapagos Islands with one of our biology faculty members to do research on aquatic marine life, which was really pretty exciting. We often have trips to Johannesburg, South Africa. We have take a trip to the Azores in Portugal. So international travel is certainly going to be a possibility for all of our students.
Danny, what is there to do in the Dover area for our students when they arrive?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're located in what's called the seacoast of New Hampshire. We're only about 20 minutes from the Atlantic Ocean. So there are certainly a number of beaches, surfing, certainly a lot of opportunities with our proximity to the Atlantic Ocean. Also in New Hampshire, we're very close to the White Mountains, and there's going to be a lot of winter outdoor activities to take advantage of. Skiing is about 40 minutes away, and we're just over an hour's ride from the city of Boston, Massachusetts, which is a fairly large international hub. They have a great airport, and the city of Boston has tremendous opportunities, not only in terms of education and higher ed, but great cultural activities. And there is public transportation. Students can take the train from Dover right down to the city of Boston and take advantage of the great city that's there. So I think our physical location in the seacoast has many advantages.
Thanks very much, Danny. Yeah, Dover's a beautiful place, and the seacoast is a beautiful area if you've not already been there. Heading back down to Florida with Ann Cash, can you tell us a little bit about how the school supports its international community, as well as things to do in and around the Melbourne area?
Sure. So our international students are treated the same as our domestic students. All the services of the school are available to them as well. We actually have switched over our schedule this year to allow for more teacher-student interaction, tutoring. So we've switched to a 6-day cycle where each student, and I believe it's the same up in New Hampshire, where the other representative spoke, where she said that there's 2 periods a day that they have free. We actually have 1 period free. They're called academic enrichment periods, where students can schedule a time to meet with a teacher or another tutor. We have our National Honor Society also offers tutoring on campus as well. So they're available all the time as long as you schedule it. An orientation in the past, we've had our students come, our international students come early by a couple days, and we just schedule a time for our current students, our ambassadors, to greet them and walk around with them and show them the campus and just interact, have lunch with them, kind of make them feel welcome and just a little bit more comfortable. And then they will meet with our guidance team to select courses for that semester or that year. So that's been really a nice way. We're actually going through a little bit of a change in our administration of our international program. So our previous international director has fallen ill. She had to take a medical leave. So it's a little dicey this year. And especially with COVID, it actually was better because we didn't have a bunch because we kind of didn't have any idea of what was going on in that world of hers, because she was the director for so long. So now this is actually working with Tom is going to be excellent. So we can all kind of stay in the loop, but we do offer the same options. As far as what to do around here, we are about 3 miles, about 5 minutes from the Atlantic Ocean. It's right over the causeway. We are an hour from Walt Disney World and Universal Studios. So Miami's 3 hours. So there's tons to do around here, outdoors.
Yeah, I think with the as Anne mentioned, with the transition of the international program at MCC, it's been a little turbulent this year because the coordinator of that program, as Anne said, was taken ill. That's seen the program shift over into this capacity, but we're confident in moving forwards with how things are going to be running down there, because whether you know or not, I've worked down in Melbourne at MCC myself in person, so I'm very familiar with the school and the surroundings. My wife and family still live in Melbourne. My wife obviously up here, but her family down in Melbourne. So we have strong attachments to the area and strong attachments to the school as well. Finally, back up into New Hampshire with Brenda at BG, talking about support from the school and how are international students looked after, what is there to do in and around the Nashua area as well. Sorry, let me you must have popped out and come back in. There you go. There you go.
So yeah, so we also have an orientation to start the year with the international students. We have done everything from 2 days to a full week, depending on how many students we have that we're inviting to join us that year. And so it has been a combination of getting used to the school and meeting a lot of people in the school that will be vital to their success, as well as host families coming in. We also have trips planned. That has been done always by the international coordinator in conjunction with me. And we do a full orientation for all our new students, as Dan had mentioned, they do at St. Thomas. We are less than an hour from Boston. So it's very funny. The international students always want to go to Boston or New York City. We're not also that far from New York City as the crow flies. And they just love to go into the cities. So Boston is a very cultural rich city and also educationally rich, as Dan had mentioned. And a lot of our students end up staying in Boston and going to college there. It has premier universities and colleges, so we're lucky that regard, that we can also visit colleges. Students can see what those colleges are like, and that's sort of unusual for international students to actually do college visits. So we make sure they get down there. We talk to their host families about that. I do the college counseling with all the international students. So that's a big push to do that. And in New England in general, we have a college on almost every corner. So it's really great for that end of things when we work with students. We have a very dedicated faculty and staff. We have tutoring available all the time. The faculty is available before, during, and after school. We work really, really well with the international students. We've done a lot of training with our faculty over the years. We've hosted seminars with them of what to expect with international students, some cultural sort of sensitivity to understand that it's going to be a little different than the students from New Hampshire. So we've done a lot of groundwork to make sure that the students are really well supported. There's a lot to do, as Dan said. We're not that far from St. Thomas, so there's a lot to do in this area. It's been really fun watching students from much warmer climate. It's been really fun to watch that. And they have ice skating, which they never thought they'd do. And one of our students who graduated last year, she used to wear 2 coats. She was always so cold, but she always participated in all those activities. But she would wear 2 coats walking around the school. She was just adorable. But it's nice to see that they participate and they want to participate and get immersed in what the area is like. Nashua is a city of 80,000 residents. It's a very safe city in the sense of it's small, you can get around. There's lots of shopping. The students seem to like that. But it's also lots of restaurants, movie theaters, things to do. There's also theater and culture in Nashua, as there is out in the seacoast. And then again, Boston is 45 minutes down the road. There is public transportation to and from Boston. The students can take, and it runs very regularly because we are a commuting city from Boston. Did I answer all the questions?
Yeah. No, thanks, Brenda. And I agree with you. It's been fun to see some of our students, as you said, from warmer climates, come to New England and experience the mountains of snow that we get here. And I think just yesterday it was, with wind chill, it was about -20 degrees Celsius. So it was, it was definitely light jacket weather in New England. But no, it's we've had students surprisingly from countries like Chile, and who have come initially for a single semester or a single school year, and they've ended up staying for 3 years, 2-3 years, and graduating from BG. So yeah, don't let the cold put you off or put your students off. It's a great place and a safe place to live as well. And as Brenda said, with colleges on every corner. So for students wishing to move through the education system in the US, it definitely lends itself well to that. Let's move on to section number 4, school offerings. What are the main academic strengths of your school? What are some facilities at your school that students really enjoy? What are the STEM options? What are the art options? What sports can students play? And are there any restrictions for international students? Does the school have any plans to introduce new course options or facilities or anything else in the future? As I said at the beginning, these questions I am pasting over in the chat box if you want to preview them over there as well. So let's go back to Florida again, and Cash, and if you can touch on some of those school offerings, please.
Sure. So we're a college preparatory school. So our students take courses in all domains. Our freshman classes usually start with our basic core level subject area courses, and then they're allowed an elective or two, depending on what they come in with as they go on 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. They have more options as far as electives. As Tom said earlier, our campus is rather large. We're built on over 40 acres, so there's a lot of open space. We most recently added a few buildings. We have a brand new building called the Dream Lab, which is a technology collaboration center. Our students use it for various reasons. There's quiet pod areas where they can go and sit by themselves and work on their own, where it's enclosed and they're not disturbed. But then we also have open areas with couches and different areas where they can plug in their devices and just all work together on one TV. Then we have on the perimeter of that room, there are several rooms where the students can take advantage of the different technology tools. We have a virtual reality headset room. We have a 3D printing room. We have a makerspace room, a broadcasting studio, a coding lab. So there are so many options, and I'm looking at the questions about STEM that kind of addresses that as well. We've really tried to ramp up that as well. We're currently looking at what course offerings for next year we can include or change, because we really do survey our students and want to know what it is they want to learn about, and we kind of base that off of our club offerings. So if there's the ability to start a club at Melbourne Central Catholic is pretty easy, as long as you have an advisor and there's enough students with interest. You can start a club, and that kind of gives our faculty an idea of where the interest lies. We offer, visual and performing arts as well. So again, we're pretty much we survey, and we're really in touch with our students, which is the nice thing. As far as sports, students are able to play any sport they like. We have definitely requirements that we require for just about anyone. The state does have to approve it. We have an athletic director who works with them as they're coming in. They will have to complete, obviously they'll need a physical, and then they will have to complete a concussion in sports online class, a sudden cardiac arrest class, and a heat illness prevention, because obviously being in Florida, we're outside in 90-degree heat probably about 5 months of the year, and so it's super humid, and so we just have to educate students who, like you said, are coming from different environments and they don't necessarily have an idea of how deeply hot it gets down here. So other than that, I mean, I think we pretty much offer everything that we would offer any other student in our class.
Yeah, and to touch on your point about the course offerings, when I met with the president, I thought it was great what he was doing with the Dream Lab in terms of the broadcasting room at MCC. They're creating a broadcasting course where students, they have a green screen and students will do the school announcements, and that will be a 4-credit course. They'll learn how to do all of that as well. So yeah, these facilities that were still being built actually when I worked down in Melbourne, it's great to see them come into fruition now and being used to their full capacity. If we can head back up to New Hampshire and Brenda Posnansky in Bishop Guertin.
So at BG, we are also a college preparatory high school. We are really, academics is our #1 focus. Our students are, they have a little phrase that they always say at BG, it's cool to be smart. They're surrounded by other kids who really want to learn and really want to go on to college. Our college placement, we have 100% college placement rate. 97% of those students will be going to 4-year schools. Students are involved in a very robust, very traditional college preparatory program. So we have 21 AP courses that we offer in person, not online. It's in class classes. We are the only school in New Hampshire that has an AP research program and seminar, which is, you know, wonderful for our kids and an opportunity for them to really reach out and explore their passions and things like that. We are a small building, but very, very sturdy, small but mighty. We make do with what we have in many respects and have a very strong STEM program. We go up to multivariable calculus. We have, like I said, AP offerings in all the hard sciences and biology. So our STEM program also extends out to our award-winning robotics program. So we make do with what we have by a space in our area that we work with. And it's many of our students. About last year, I think it was something like 55% of our graduates were going on to engineering programs. And another like 20% were going into health sciences. So it's very, we live in a technology area of New Hampshire. We have BAE Systems in Nashua. We have a lot of in the 30-mile radius, we have a lot of technology companies and biomedical companies and things like that. So our students are really coming from backgrounds where family, members work there, and they know what they want. They really do know what they want when they come in. We have an entrance exam and an application process. The students have to go through to be admitted to BG. So students are starting at a sort of, a place where they've had to work hard in middle school even to get into BG. So that's makes a big difference in how we can then fulfill the educational goals and mission of the school and the students. The students are happy in class because they have great relationships with their teachers, and they really work hard and are rewarded for that hard work with their options when they're ready to graduate. We have a wonderful art program. Our art program is incredible. We also have music and drama. We have AP music. We have in the visual arts area, we have AP studio art. So the students have a lot of different options. We have digital art. We have 3D design. So we have a lot of those options available to our students. BG is also very much an athletic environment. Our students really love sports, and they're multi-sport athletes, so they play more than one sport in a year. We are Division I in our sports. We offer everything you can think of, including bowling, bass fishing, and the international students put together a badminton club. So we offer a lot of things. And the students are involved. Over 65% of our students are involved in athletics. The other students are involved in we have about 60 clubs and organizations, and everything from they have had gaming clubs to debate to mock trial. We have a math league. We have quiz bowl. We participate in a lot. Our students are active. We also have a very, very, very active campus ministry where students will go out into the community and serve others. And interestingly, international students have really been a part of that. And it's wonderful to see. It really helps them see the community and the culture. And they have been really involved in our campus ministry program, which has been really wonderful. As far as new courses, every year we have a few new courses in almost every discipline. We really work hard in the core disciplines, math, science, English, social studies, and languages. The international students do not have to take a world language. English for them is their world language. We want to make sure that they're proficient in English. We, like Dan, we don't have an ESL program right now because of numbers, but if the numbers warranted, we would revisit that. Like St. Thomas, we have a precedent set that we could jump in and do an ESL program, but right now the numbers just don't support it. In fact, some of our students their English is terrific that are at school right now. It's amazing. You forget that they're international students. They've really embraced their classes and really speaking in English. So.
Thank you, Brenda. Just briefly, quick question for you. I just noticed Boya has asked a question in the chat, and I think your experience lends itself very well to this. For international students, roughly what would be their budget for each year of college? Obviously, that's going to depend completely on the college that they go to and the experience. But in your experience, what would they need to kind of ballpark for that? And are there any scholarships, financial aid, or anything like that available?
Yeah, so the college, it depends on what college they go to, in what area of the country. There are different parts of the country that are a lot less expensive than the Northeast. The Northeast is the most expensive area to go to college in. The college tuitions are just really high in the Northeast. But our students like to stay here. Like I said, Boston is a mecca for college students. It has every kind of college you can possibly think of, and then some. But they like to stay. They like to stay near cities, and when you stay near a city, college is more expensive. So it depends. And quite frankly, as I've been a college counselor for a very long time and was in college admissions for a long time as well, I really try to give students a breadth of colleges to investigate. Oftentimes, international students come with a list that's been devised for them by somebody else. It's very important for success in college that there's a fit of some sort, and that's not necessarily a common idea across the world, that you go to a name school because this is what you do and that's how it works. College in the United States is incredibly competitive. And so, and that plays out with finances. So when we look at schools with our students, we try to give them a breadth of schools to look at for all the reasons that, and all the questions you have: location, size, availability to transportation is big, cost, and whether or not they have financial aid. More and more colleges in the United States are putting financial aid programs together for international students than ever before. That was not a thing 10 years ago. International students, no financial aid, it was just a given, and their bills were pretty high. I mean, a place like Boston University, New York University, those schools are $80,000 a year, and an international student pays a little bit more. And so that's a lot of money. So that's why a breadth of colleges is really important. And they do not give out financial aid to international students. They only give out merit money. So to earn a merit award, you have to be at the very top of that applicant class. And that's tough because, for instance, this year, there's been a surge at schools like that. So Boston University is dealing with 90,000 applications for 4,000 spots in their freshman class. So it's tricky. So that's why it's a lot of movement. But, it depends on what the student's interested in too. I have a student right now who's very, very interested in the fine arts. She's going to have a very different list than somebody who's looking at an engineering program. So it's actually, to be honest, it's the most fun part of my job. I love working with the kids at college because it's the exploration part is so fun, but also hearing what they want to do with their lives and how they're thinking is just tremendous. But there's lots of opportunity. It's about finding it, but there's lots of opportunity. It doesn't have to be super expensive.
Awesome. No, thanks for sharing about that, Brenda. And if we can just briefly revisit the school offerings and head back on over to Dan in Dover.
Absolutely. So once again, St. Thomas Aquinas is a college preparatory high school where I have very similar statistics to my colleagues at the other schools as well. 99 to 100% of our students will go on to higher education. We have students that are studying at 105 different colleges in 3 different countries, 24 United States. So our students, after they graduated from STA, certainly go to a lot of different places. Our curriculum is college preparatory honors level. We do offer about 14 advanced placement courses. And one of the new introductions that we have is the expansion of our partnerships with colleges and universities. So some of our students will currently be juniors or seniors, are now having extensive opportunities to take college courses either online, and we're working with a couple of places that are nearby to take college courses on the college campus while they are full-time high school students. So we're very, very excited about that. Some of the new things that are happening on campus, one of the great places that we have that students like to take advantage of is our new artificial turf athletic field. We do offer 5 fall sports, 6 winter sports, and 5 spring sports. We have been able to compete in all sports except for indoor track this year during COVID. About 80% of our students are playing at least one sport. So it's a big part of our culture. It's a big part of our identity. Our STEM options are pretty extensive. We offer 7 advanced placement courses in between the math and sciences. And we do have great fine arts too. The building that I'm in, so we have classes in 2 different buildings. The building that my office is located in houses our fine arts classroom, where we have a kiln for students that are doing pottery and different types of visual arts. We offer digital art courses. So STEM, certainly available. The art classes, very available as well. And I think we will continue to improve on our facilities, update our technologies. That's something that happens on an ongoing basis.
Thank you very much, Dan. And thank you to everyone who's participated in this. It has been recorded. So I'm happy to send out a recording of that as well. Regarding any miscellaneous questions that didn't get asked, we're just about out of time here. So I'll revisit them in an email. But yeah, if you have any questions that need asking, please feel free to email me. I'll quickly run down the list of a few questions that were asked that didn't get answered that I can very quickly answer. Do you recommend students travel back to their home countries during school holidays? During summertime, yes, if possible. It's good for them to have a break from the US. It's good for their host families to have a break as well. However, in this current climate, in this current situation, we do recognize the need to potentially house students and have students stay here during the summer holidays. And that's perfectly fine. And we can find plenty of things for them to do and keep occupied during that time. During the winter holidays and vacation over Christmas, they can travel back. It's not necessary to travel back. They can remain with their host families and enjoy the holidays in the US. Sometimes for countries a little further afield like Vietnam or China or Korea, it's a long way to go for a 2-week vacation. Do students ever travel with their host families? Yes, they do. We have host families that travel all over the US and bring their students with them as part of the family. Currently, obviously, it's a little difficult to do that. So we've got host families, for example, here in New Hampshire that have, instead of going away with their students, they have bought ski season passes. So they go into the mountain to do skiing or snowboarding every single week. Do students ever return for a second year? We touched on that before. We have students that have signed up for a single semester and ended up staying 2 or 3 years. So yeah, I think students and parents are often surprised by how much they enjoy studying in either New Hampshire or Florida.
Not to interrupt, but we also have students who have returned. They went back to their home country for a year and now have come back to finish their diploma at BG, and I'm sure at the other schools as well.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true, and yeah, that's testament to the quality of the schools. And as I said, close to the beginning of the call, the schools are going to offer a quality academic and whole person formation experience. The other part of it that is just as important is the host families, and we want to marry the two together to make a really successful experience, both for the students, for us, and for you as agencies around the world as well. So that's what we're looking to do, and hopefully we can continue working together and bringing students here to the US and giving both them and our students here currently in the US, our American students, a more enriched high school experience. Thank you everyone so much for your participation in this call. Really appreciate you all attending, especially to Dan, Brenda and Anne for giving up your time as well. For the first Speak to the Schools installment, as I said at the beginning, hopefully this won't be the last Speak to the School, and we can find other ways to connect with the schools too, be it through students or other means as well. So thank you very much. Have an awesome rest of your Wednesday, and I'll be in touch soon. Bye everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.